Hi, my love, welcome. Let me know you're watching and just give me a little hi, hello, whatever you like in the comments. Let me know how you're doing today. I'm so excited today to talk about bringing the healthy feminine into your yoga practice. So last week we discussed the healthy masculine and what that meant. So I'll just quickly go over for anyone that didn't watch the last live, what this really means, like the masculine and the feminine. So yes, men often find it easier to be more in touch with the masculine, and women often find it easier to be more in touch with the feminine. However, that's not at all a hard and fast rule. People cross over completely, and the optimum situation is actually to have a really healthy balance of both the masculine and the feminine. And these are more energies than they are genders, I suppose. So you can think of the masculine as yang and the feminine as yin, if that suits better to the way that you view the world and what vibes well with you. So anytime I say feminine and you're thinking, oh, that doesn't work well, think yin instead. Okay, awesome. So yoga can be quite masculine traditionally, which is what I've discussed quite a lot in the past few lives. So it's really important as women in particular to bring in that elements of tantra, but as well just generally feminine energy into what has been a very masculine dominated tradition. So I'm going to talk through some of those things now, which I'm very excited to do. So one of the first things, and a lot of these might be taken the wrong way because I think in our society, femininity is seen as like a negative thing. It's seen as like weak or emotional or whatever. So please just try and have an open mind here. And just see maybe that like a lot of these feminine qualities are extremely powerful and beautiful, and just because society doesn't value them, it doesn't mean that they're not amazing. So the first one I wanted to talk about is innocence, and in the sense of having a beginner's mind. So it's a very feminine or yin quality to be open to new information. And this doesn't have to go as far as naivety or being pushed around or, stupid or anything like that. It's just having this quality of innocence that we generate during our maidenhood, during our menarche. It's one of the female cities that we have. It just comes to mind that age-old thing of like men never wanting to ask for directions, but women being very happy to. Like, I think feminine energy is very receptive to new things, learning, and we can bring that into our yoga practice by not just doing sun salutation after sun salutation, but actually exploring, being willing to learn from different traditions, bringing in that tantra or, other things completely, other traditions or modalities, and bringing that into our practice. Awesome. So if you have any questions about any of these as I go through, please just let me know. The next one is sensitivity. Again, a touchy topic. But this is actually something really incredible. So yes, feminine energy is more emotional. It's less like straight line logical, and we do circle around things sometimes and bring the emotion into it. But I don't see that as a bad thing at all. In fact, I see that as a really beautiful essence. And what that can look like in your yoga practice is moving in more of a dance as opposed to just straight stretching from one pose to another. We bring the emotion into the movement. And, if you ever watched any kind of stage performance, that's what the beauty is to see. It's that emotion coming through the song or the dance or the orchestra, whatever it is. So if we can really allow ourselves to express that emotion during our practice, and that might mean, again, veering off the track of the sun salutation and playing around more with the poses, moving your arms around a little bit as you're coming into your low lunge or whatever it is. And this, if you're engaging in that sensitivity, will change depending on your mood on any given day. So if you're in like a really great mood and excited, it might be like, yay, like, I don't know, whatever you may do. Whereas if you're, having not a great day, feeling quite upset, it might be, more slow movements, shoulder rolls, getting your neck loosened up, whatever that may be. So the next one is cyclical powers, which I talk a lot about. But what this really means is just making sure that in the different phases of your cycle, you're really honoring your energy levels and moods during that time. So spring might be a more playful practice where you're exploring new things. Summer might be a more sexual practice where you're like moving your hips a bit more, or just generally a bit more high energy if that suits you. Autumn might be a more emotional practice and just really like feeling it out. And when you come to winter, it might be very little movement at all and more, pranayama, yoga nidra. Not that we shouldn't be doing all of those things throughout, but it's much easier when your energy's low than when you're in the highs of your summer. It's kind of hard to sit there and breathe sometimes. So yeah, just living in this cyclical way, which really is a power for us females, as I've spoken about many times before. But as a feminine energy as well, and men can tap into this as well by working with the lunar cycle. So it's not something that's exclusive to women. Sexuality is the next one. So yes, males have, or masculine energy has its own sexuality, and that might be more like dominance, or not that it's about dominance and submission, because that's just one like very small aspect of sexuality. But then you've got things like just like the rhythmic movement of your hips and things like that, so we can bring that into our practice as well. And it can be also a feminine power to be dominant in that relationship and really express what that means to you as well. So yeah, there's no hard or fast rules, especially when it comes to sexuality. But just bringing that into your yoga practice and bringing that nurturing of sexual energy in, and that can actually lead to great spiritual awakenings if you can sort of foster a little bit of sexual energy without going all the way to orgasm. Just allow that power to move through you as you do your pranayama or whatever it may be. So moving on to creativity now, and this particularly is a feminine quality because of the female body's ability to create new life, to have a pregnancy and a birth and that whole incredible process that happens, which is amazing. But we do also have this innate ability to be creative. And men that are really in touch with their feminine side are very good with this creation and this artistry as well, which is beautiful. So when that comes into your yoga practice, again, it looks like veering off the traditional railways and just letting yourself move into whatever pose feels good to you, creating new poses, maybe dropping the traditional poses altogether and just dancing or doing whatever you need to do to move your body. This is all movement medicine. So as much as the specific poses are awesome, I like to think of them as training wheels, and once we master those and get the body flexible and strong through the traditional poses, we can start to create our own practices, which is what I've done with the menstrual healing yoga practices. I've kind of taken those traditional poses and thought, okay, how can I apply this to women's bodies, but also women's healing? And that's a big part of what I share in my course, but you can dive into that if you like. Just let me know, drop me a message and I'll share with you all about that. But you can do the same thing, and even just using the inspiration of the Movement Monday posts, you can just type in hashtag Movement Monday on the group and it'll come up with all kinds of different yoga asanas and things that you can bring into your practice and build from that foundation as well. And moving on to unconditional love, and this is a power that we tend to generate in motherhood for our children, but it's something, you can tap into before then, of course, as well. And when we bring this unconditional love into our practice, it's all about self-love. That gets thrown about so much nowadays, almost to lose its meaning, but wow, is it so important. Like there's cultures, I'm probably going to get this wrong, but I think it's in Tibet, where the Dalai Lama comes from. And they don't understand this concept of self-hatred. Like that's not something that they have to train out of themselves. They're very self-loving, and not in like an arrogant or arrogant, I suppose, or selfish kind of way, because that's the connotation of self-love in Western society a lot of the time. Whereas for us, it tends to be this difficult thing to tap into, and it's something that we're constantly working towards. So we can bring self-love into our yoga practice by just accepting where we're at on any given day, accepting that one side of the body might be better at doing something than the other side of the body, accepting that we missed our practice yesterday and the day before, but we're going to jump back on it today, and that's okay. So there's so many different ways that you can bring this into your practice, but yeah, it's a beautiful feminine power. And finally, my absolute favourite, and this is often related to menopause and when we come into those wise woman years, but intuition and wisdom. So again, intuitive movement would be moving with whatever's going on with your body at the time, listening to your heart over your head. And I could dive into the science all around this, but I'm not a scientist, so that might be a little bit challenging. But basically, the heart sends more signals around the body than the brain does. So we can think of the heart as having its own sort of intelligence center. And many spiritual traditions believe that the heart is the seat of the soul, or the spirit, or your higher self, your true self, whatever you want to call it. So that's so important to bring into your practice every single day. What does my heart want today? How can I make my heart shine? How can I switch off the thinking mind, the monkey mind, the chatter going round and round, and just listen to what my body needs, my mind needs, because sometimes it doesn't know best, but the heart knows better. And more importantly, what my soul needs, what my true purpose is, and how can I align all of those together today throughout my practice. And that might be, switching up what you're doing. It might be doing more yoga nidra, more pranayama, or it might be ditching your yoga practice completely for the day and thinking, actually, I really need to go on a nature walk today. That's what my soul needs. Or actually, I really need to spend time with my family today, and that's going to be my yoga practice for the day. Sometimes it really can be if your family are quite testing. So yeah, listening to your heart, listening to your wisdom, listening to your woman's intuition. So that is the feminine energy that I wanted to discuss, bringing into the yoga practice. And if you've got any other things to add to that at all, I'd love you to drop them in the comments. There's so many aspects of this to bring in. And if there's anything that you don't agree with as well, or the way that I've phrased things or think it could be explained better, please go for it. As I said right at the beginning, I have that innocence or the beginner's mind, and I'm always willing to learn. So please share away. And last but not least, I'll just mention, as it's very relevant to this week's live, at the end of this month or very beginning of May, we'll be doing our menstrual healing circle, and we'll be joining together to dive deep into this month's theme, which is actually feminine yoga. So we'll be sharing a little bit about our stories and connecting, which is going to be really beautiful. But we'll also be learning a lot more about feminine yoga, diving into some feminine yoga practices, and just generally having a whale of a time. So I'd absolutely love you to join. I've put the details of the times and everything above in this post, so you can check those out. And just drop me a message if you're interested. I think a lot of people still have a free class pass, but it's only $7 to join if you'd like to. So yeah, I'd love you to check that out. Please let me know if you're interested. And I will be here at the same time next week, really diving into menstrual healing yoga and how we can use our yoga practice to heal our bodies. Because I know that a lot of us in the group are struggling with period pain and PMS, and that's something that I really had to battle to work through and generate this whole practice around. So I'm hoping to share some of my knowledge and wisdom about that with you all. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Have an awesome day, night, wherever you are in the world, and I will see you at the same time next week. Bye for now.